received that provides your login username and it then allows you to click a link and set your own password to log into Flexmls. Now, most cases, your username is going to be nv dot plus your Paragon member number. So for example, if my member number was 12345, my new username when I log into Flexmls will be nv dot 12345. Make sure to use all lowercase letters for that NV portion and that dot. Now, this information should be in your intro email as well. That allows you to click the link and set your password, but just so you know what that is. You can also log into Flexmls at any point in time by going to nv.flexmls.com. So during the parallel period, you can get in at any point in time. Now, let's actually move into Flexmls. We're going to start off with basic system navigation, and I'll show you where some help options are, how the menu works and how you can mark menu items as favorites, and also how to customize your dashboard. So I'm going to just come into Flexmls, and your Flexmls instance when you log in should look similar to what I have on my screen right now. And you'll see I land on a dashboard. Now, just basic system navigation wise, I'll point out a few things. The two top rows will always be available from pretty much any screen in Flexmls, and you're going to have several help options available up at the top. So I'm just going to point some of these out right now. Number one, the Flexmls logo. Whenever you click on that, wherever you are in the system, it will take you right back to your dashboard. So it's just a shortcut right back to your dashboard, which has other shortcuts on it. Next to that is a search bar, and as it says in the text, if you can read that, it says enter an address, city, zip code, MLS number. You can begin searches from this. It's kind of an omnipresent search tool inside the system, so it allows you to search for a lot of things. For example, if I have a contact named Mark, I can start typing that in, and you're going to see now it's asking, do I want to start searches in Markville, but also menu items, market areas, and there's my contact, Mark Stone. So just a quick shortcut. It also allows me to multitask. So whatever I type in this bar, and I'll just type in a price range right now as an example. When I type something in, I could start a search here. Whatever I click on, I can click on and open in my current tab, or you'll see as I hover over the option, there's the new tab. So I'm just going to open up this residential search for 500 to 600,000 in a new tab. That actually opened, I think that's off of my recording screen, but I have another tab open, and just to the left of that was my original tab with Mark Stone, and then my search is just right above on a new tab right here. So if you like to multitask, use that quick launch bar to help you do that. Now I'll click on my logo, come back to my default dashboard, and then a few help options to note. Guided help. These are tutorials to help you get used to using the system. You know what you want to do, but because Flexmls has different workflows and labels than Paragon and things are located in different places, the guided help gives you tutorials to help you go through and see exactly where you need to click to accomplish something. For example, maybe I want to use the quick search to search for listings. I'll click on this, search in the quick search, and then I'll get on-screen prompts. It's not a video, it's actual on-screen help and tells me what we're going to do. I follow the prompts. I look for these blue ringed boxes. They'll tell me exactly what to click on and how to come through here. And it gives me a little bit of a nice overview, my search filter, my search results, my search actions. Now, I'm going to leave this guided help. We'll cover the search in just a moment, but just to show you, guided help, a great resource for new users because you know what you want to do. You're just learning how to do it in a new system. Additional help options are available over in the upper right, and you'll see help for whatever page you're on. Flexmls help, if you're looking for user manuals, that's going to be essentially the Flexmls help site. You want to know how to set up the subscriptions, the auto emails in Flexmls. If you like to learn by reading, these are great articles, very detailed, and provide a lot of information. Additional help options, you have the video training that will pop up and be available here. And of course, you can contact support, and that is going to give you the Northern Nevada MLS support information, contact information, and hours of operation. Finally, there is the Flexmls Academy. Whenever new features are introduced into the system, this will have all of those new features, how they work. It also has training resources here for you as well. The Flexmls help site and the video library is available in that Flexmls Academy page as well. Now, underneath that top row with our search bar and help options, you have the menu. And next to the menu are my favorite menu items. So you'll notice when I open my menu, I'm going to see some menu items have a star next to them. Those are just the ones that were pinned to my favorites. When you log into Flexmls the very first time and were asked the question, are you an agent? Are you a broker? All that does is set your default favorites. But it is really easy to change those favorites. For example, maybe I like to come in and search for my office listings frequently. I'm going to hover over the menu item. I could click on it to go to my office listings, or I'll click that star next to it. And when I click that star, you'll see it just pins that menu item up on my favorites. So whatever functions you use most frequently, you can come to your menu and just pin those to your favorites. To remove it, you just click on the star again and remove those from your favorites. Now, underneath that, when you come in the first time or whenever you log into Flexmls, you'll notice you are on your dashboard, and this has shortcuts to various areas in the system. You'll see the message board is here, and this gives me access to the Flexmls resources page, so you can go in and sign up for training. You have announcements here as well. You also have MLS links, support, training, members website, and then you have things like My Listings, the hot sheet. So these are just shortcuts rather than going to the menu, going to the hot sheet, or going to My Listings. These gadgets are just shortcuts. Now remember, the hot sheet is not going to function until the system is live, but I will point out just a few things here. I'm going to click on this. You can rearrange the order of the gadgets on your dashboard, so you can drag and drop to do that. The gadgets also are customizable. You'll see the hot sheet is saying, do you want this to be a 24-hour hot sheet? Or maybe I want it to show 48 hours. And I can also click on the three dots in the upper right corner on any gadget, go to settings, and then I can come in and say, well, I only want to look in certain zip codes or only pull in certain property types for my hot sheet. If you make any customizations, you can click on save, and then the next time I come to this page, it will remember what we're looking for right here. Now, one last thing I will point out before we get into adding listings is that you can customize your dashboard even further. Maybe I want separate hot sheets, one for land, one for farm, one for residential. In the upper right of my dashboard, I can click Customize. The first option is to add gadgets. When I click on Add Gadgets, I will get a list of gadget categories along the left-hand side of my screen. I can click on those categories, see what's available. In this case, maybe I want to add additional hot sheets. So you can click on Add Another. And then I can click to return to my dashboard. When I do that, anything that I've added to my dashboard is just at the bottom, so I can drag and drop and bring that in here as well. Now I could come in and set the settings for this hot sheet gadget different than my other one. Here we'll look at land or farm and ranch, whatever it may be, or maybe in just specific zip codes. And I can save that. And so remember, don't expect accurate hot sheet numbers during the parallel period. The hot sheets won't be accurate until go live on May 19th, but just to show you how that works and how that functions here. You can also try things out right now during parallel or anytime even after parallel. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can click on remove for that dashboard gadget that we just added on. And now we're just back to our original. Let's take a look at adding listings inside Flexmls. Now I'm going to show you what this process looks like now. However, you won't even see this available in your menu until May 19th. But first, let's look at, we've already looked at our help options. Let's look and see where the printable input forms are. So I'm going to go to my menu, and it's going to be under Daily Functions, and here are the printable input forms. Now, I can fill this out manually by hand, and if I have somebody at the office who enters that information for me, they would still need to add it into the system. But I'll click on Input Forms, and then I'm going to see the different property types that are available. You can click on Print and print that input form. Now, this is nice. You should be able to access this now. So even though you can't actually get in and add and change listings, this is going to show you what the input forms field names are going to be. Because remember, I told you a lot of those field names will be changing from what you were previously familiar with. So this is a nice thing to print out. You should have access to that now. The actual add listing process, it will be done from your menu. And starting on May 19th, you'll have a section like mine on the screen that says Add and Change. You won't see that right now when you log in during Parallel. But here you can add listings, add a comp listing, change listings. Incomplete listings are similar to partial listings in Paragon. However, they are slightly different. I'll cover that a little bit. But also a note, your partial listings from Paragon do not transfer into Flexmls. If listings were brought over from Paragon, but for some reason they were not able to be mapped, you would find them here. And then you're going to see an option to copy listings. So if I've entered a listing previously, I can copy that listing. Let's look at the basic add change process. I'll click on Add Listing. I am greeted by this pop-up. It has the property types in Flexmls. If I was trying to add multifamily, for example, and I can't remember what the new label is, here's some guided help. As I hover over that, it gives me that nice table that indicates multifamily is now called residential income. So then I would just select residential income. Now for this example, I'll click on residential and then click select and next. Once the listing form loads, you're going to see my menu over on the left-hand side of the screen. So once I've added the listing, my menu will still be here and I can jump to different sections to get there easily. But this just shows me where we're currently at on the right side of the screen. Now you'll also notice there is some information available here, some more guided help. We've got our property type for residential, and it tells us a little bit about this, some of the more commonly changed field names. There's also a document available, and this is a PDF document. So if I look at this and I'm looking for a field that I know existed in Paragon, but I don't know the new name of that field in Flexmls, you can use Control F to search for it on this page, but this just tells you the property types that this applies to, what the label was in Paragon, and then what that new RESO, Real Estate Standards Organization label field is inside Flexmls. So some of the changes are simple, like parcel number. Rather than number, it's spelled out. Or tax with the $sign, it's spelled out tax annual amount. But some are going to be completely relabeled fields, so they might have different labels altogether. For example, asking price is now list price. So again, to get there, you'll be able to come in that little informational bubble, and it was just this little document right here. Now, I'll also show you some things here as we're adding the listing. Is this listing withheld? What does that mean? I can click that help next to it and tells me withheld listings are only viewable within my office and or company if my company or my office belongs to a company-wide structure. Or is this a comp sale? And I can see that from here. Property type, we already selected that. Subtype. Now, I won't go through the entire process, but you'll see myself in here as the listing member, co-listing member, contact name and phone. And as I come down and start filling out the information, I'm going to jump down to the address section. I'm just going to click over here. when you fill out the address, you'll notice there is a Google search for the address. So I can enter in everything below here. I can just put in everything manually if I would like. However, this Google address search is looking at US postal address information. So for example, if I wanted to type in 5156 Aspen View Drive, you'll see it start popping that up. Now it's going by location. I'm not currently, as I'm recording this video, in Reno. So that's one of the reasons it was popping up all of those East Coast addresses. I'm currently located in Arlington, Virginia, so it was pulling those up first because that's where Google thinks I'm at. But as you start typing that in, you can see, oh, right here. And when I click on that, it is going to then fill in that information for me. Now, I could always say, whoops, it wasn't 5156, it was 5154 or 55, whatever it was. But you can always change that manually. But that's just a nice shortcut. My street name is already in here. My suffix drive is already here, Reno. So that's what that little auto pop looks like. And then I can continue filling out the information. Now, as I start getting beneath that, it will ask me to map the location. So always take the extra few minutes, click on map this location, make sure it's mapped accurately. If it's an area of new location, you might have to go to that satellite view, or you might have to drag the map around a little bit to get the tip of the push pin exactly where that should be located, then click use this location. Again, I just complete filling out the required fields, and you can tell required fields or groups, they're noted by this red asterisk that's next to that name for the field. Now, a few other things that I want to point out down here as well. Let's jump down to, for example, remarks. You'll notice here's my public remarks, and I can start typing in things here. Let's misspell that on purpose. There is no spell check button here, but you'll notice my browser will underline anything that looks misspelled. You can always right-click and get those suggestions. Also, the public remarks tell me that I've entered 27 characters out of an available 4,000. That's a lot of characters I could enter, but this is a really small box. Just click in the corner of that box. You can drag it out. So as I'm typing in, I can make that much easier for myself to read. Those boxes can be changed inside as I'm working, or in size as I'm working with those. Underneath the remarks, broker distributions will be available. And those broker distributions are the seller opt-outs. For example, if they didn't want this being used in AVMs or comments not allowed on the internet, or if they direct it to be allowed from the internet, disallowed from the internet altogether. You'll see if I check that, it will not syndicate it out to those syndication sites that the MLS uses, but otherwise the default is here. Now, usually you don't have to change the seller opt-outs. Most people want as much exposure for the listing as possible, but just to show you where that's at. Right now, the system is not live, so you see on my screen it says currently not used. That won't be available for you when you see this on May 19th. This will be cleaned up a little bit. But if I would like to continue adding the listing right now, it's just in an incomplete phase. I haven't clicked to publish the listing and make it live. But I can add all of the photos, floor plans, documents that go on the listing. So for example, I see photos. There's a little red one here. So residential listings need at least one photo on them. I can click to add my photos. The photo up screen is going to load. And I just look at my screen, work it top down, click add photos, select the photos that I want to come in here and use. And I'll click on that to open them up. So they'll be brought in the order that I added them, and you'll notice the first one in the list has the blue flag clicked, and it's already set as the primary display photo for the listing. If I wanted to change the primary display photo, I can change the order of the photos by dragging and dropping, but to make this one be the display photo, I just want to click on that flag and set that as the display. I can get rid of photos if I don't want them on here. Maybe this one is not the correct photo. You have the trash can here. You'll also notice that you have a label for the photo and a description. And the label of the photo is whatever it was saved as when I brought that in. So this is just image 332, but I can put exterior. So you can relabel those if you would like. You also have room for a caption beneath that. So if I wanted to say something like this is a huge corner lot, you have room to say that as well. If your photo comes in sideways for whatever reason, there's not a full photo editor, but you do have the option to rotate the photo by 90 degrees, clockwise, counterclockwise. Of course, you can click those multiple times, get that to the orientation that you need, and that's adding photos. I can do the same thing with documents or floor plans. One thing I'll point out here for documents, when you come in and add documents, I'll click on Add Document, and I choose a file for the document. I don't have any PDFs available right now. I'm just going to grab an image. And I can come in here and select this. Maybe it's a lead-based paint disclosure I've added. When I add documents to one of my listings, I'll notice that the document has a privacy level, public or private. Public means anybody can see this. So if somebody else were to share this listing with somebody, should they be able to see the lead-based paint disclosure? Yes, then we'll keep it as public. Private means you would have to log into the MLS and be a member of the MLS in order to see that. It's only available inside Flexmls. So this is like agent only. So when you see public, think that's the client copy. Is it available to everybody, or is it available only to members of the MLS? Then it would be marked as private. So that's what that publicity level is there, and that will make a little bit more sense when we come in and save that. Now, as I'm adding things today, I don't have full access because, again, this is not the live system yet, but I just wanted to show you how to add documents. Videos and virtual tours are also available here. If I wanted to make the listing live on the MLS, I would click on Publish Listing. Now, if I click on this now, it is going to tell me I have all of these errors. These are required fields that I have not yet completed. Normally, you would not have this many on screen, but I can come in here and click Fix This, and it will jump me to that point in that listing form so I can go in and fill out those required fields as needed. Once everything has been added and I'm ready to make it live, I click on Publish Listing. Now, maybe I don't have the photos yet, or I'm waiting on floor plans before I publish this, or I'm waiting for a video or virtual tour. I can always click to save the listing at the bottom of the screen. And as I go through and move from section to section, it does auto-save for me, but that's going to save it as an incomplete listing. Now, an incomplete listing is similar to a partial listing. However, some things to note with incomplete listings in Flexmls is there's no minimum number of fields that are required. So I don't need to put in anything other than starting the listing and then saving it. So I can always come back to it at a later date and finish adding it. The incomplete listings do not expire. They do not get purged. So I can keep it incomplete as long as I would like. They also do not have an MLS number assigned to them until I actually publish the listing. One other thing that I did not mention, but with our photos, I'll mention this now, the actual file size for the photos can be up to 15 megabytes and up to 3,000 by 2,000 pixels. Now, if you don't know how to remember that and you just wrote it down, of course, this is being recorded. You can watch the recording when we send it to you, or when you're on the add listings screen eventually, when it's available to you on May 19th, and you say, how big can my photo file sizes be? Click on Help with this page, and it's going to tell me the file types it allows: JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, TIFFs, BMPs, up to 15 megabytes, up to 3,000 by 2,000 pixels. So I don't have to resize the photos before I add them. They're going to stay in those original sizes, the original dimensions of the photo that I added. From here, I'm just going to exit the screen. Now, I don't have any actual listings to change, but when I do have listings and the system is live and I want to edit listings, I will go to my menu and go to Change Listings to change my listings, Or if I change listings for people in my office, I could go to my office listings and change those listings. I just changed accounts, so I don't have any test listings, but this is a testing account with test listings. So I'm going to go to my menu, and again, if I was changing my own listings, I could go to change listings, or if I'm an office admin, I could go to my office listings. And this just takes me to a search results screen. Whenever I'm on a search results screen and I see a listing that I have the right to edit, once the system is live on May 19th, I'll be able to click on any of these, whether I'm on the detail, the photos, the map. The MLS number will have a drop-down menu next to it, and if I have edit rights, I'll see the option to edit the listing. And this is where I would go in and make any changes to the listing. So I see at the top, status change. As I look at this, statuses, there are renamed statuses or slightly changed statuses compared to what you're used to seeing in Paragon. So just hover over that information bubble and it tells you, for example, rented or sold in Paragon is now going to be called closed inside Flexmls. Or temporarily off market in Paragon, that's relabeled as hold inside Flexmls. So all of the listings came over with their original statuses, but they have just the updated label inside Flexmls. I can always click to change the status that I wanted to change this to. For example, to close the listing if it's sold, I click, I fill out the required fields, and then I click save, and that would change the status. Same thing over on the left if I wanted to change the price. I will see the current price, enter the new price, and click on save. Or if I needed to edit the listing details, maybe there was a typo in my remarks, you can go in and edit any field in the listing, add more photos, add public, put it on a public or open house or broker open house. And I also have links to the listing's history and activity, who's been clicking on the listing, etc. So that's just the change listing screen. I'm going to go back to my original user now. And from here, we're going to take a look at searching inside Flexmls. There are multiple options for searching in Flexmls, but the quick search is going to be the most powerful search tool that you have available. So that's what we'll take a look at today. Whenever I'm looking at the search, I like to break it down into 3 parts: search, find, and act. Search, we enter what we're looking for. Find, we look at the results, select the listings we want to work with. And then act, we take an action with the listings. What did we want to do with them? Print them, email them, saving the search, turning on the subscription, the auto email, etc. So what that looks like in the system is from here, I'll click on Quick Search. Once my search page loads, you'll see the 3 different areas. Search, that's where we land. We can enter our search criteria on the left-hand side of the screen. We can use the map if we would like. When we want to start reviewing listings, the find row, the row to review listings, is right along the top right of the map. You'll see edit search is currently highlighted. That's where we're at. But we can review results in the list, the detail, the photos, the map, stats, and more. Now I'll go through what's on this page, but one other thing I'd like to point out when we're reviewing listings is that my list from the initial list page stays present wherever I'm at. So I'm on the detail page, you'll notice that list stays with us. Or if I go to the photo page, and whatever listing I click on and highlight, that's going to stay selected or highlighted when I move to a new tab, like the detail tab. You'll see the highlighted one is what displays over on the right-hand side. Now, if I want to take action with my search results, those are all at the top of the screen. I'm going to see the share option if I'd like to text that from the full website, email, save, print the listings, send search results to the CMA, report a violation, and you do have more actions under those 3 buttons or 3 dots right here: jump to listing, search details, and export. So let's take an actual look at what the search looks like here, and I'll point out a few things when we go through a basic example, and I'll just send a listing via manual email. So I'll click on Edit Search, and when I'm on my search page, I can see at the very top of the screen, it says Residential. And next to that, I have some guided tours that will help take you through this process if you would like. Also underneath where it says Residential, it says Change Search Template. And I can see the different property types that are available now in Flexmls, what they've been renamed from Paragon. And when I click on Change Template, I can search on different property types. For example, if I click on land, my search template beneath that changes. It's no longer having fields like beds and bathrooms. Rather, it's more focused on location, lot size, that sort of thing. I'm going to come back up. I'll also point out if you want to search multiple property types at the same time, you do have an all property types template that is available, and you can select multiple property types. By default, as the name indicates, all property types would be here. Now I'll go back to residential for this search, and anything that I want to include in my search, I can just click on example property subtype, and I can click to add that. If you click on the name of that field, it kind of just gets rolled up right here. And as a reminder, as I'm looking at the fields on the search template, some of the names and labels might be different than what I'm used to. So just as before when we were adding the listing, if I go to this piece of guided help right here, this informational bubble right by the search results, I can have access to the document. And that document is just kind of that translation type document where it's going to give me all of the fields that were in the property types for Paragon and what those fields have been renamed, if there was a renaming, and what that's called inside Flexmls. So that's a nice feature to have as you're going through and trying to make sure searches are accurate. I'll come to that in a little bit. But I'll put in my search criteria. So far I've selected single family. Maybe I want to do up to X amount. And I can put in city, county, zip code, whatever locations you may be looking for. When you're putting in city, for example, you can start typing what you're looking for and select it as it pops up in the list. And then you can keep typing. You can make multiple selections in any of those fields. So easy to keep going. Or if you prefer on something like city, you can tap on See All right underneath that and get a list of all the cities here and put checks next to the ones you'd like to include. So you can do it either way by typing or using the See All feature. To take something off, maybe I'll just X out that Carson City. And as I come through here and start adding fields, some things I'll make note of. As I'm looking at total bedrooms, for example, I can enter a minimum, maximum, or both if I want a very specific range. Right now, I'll just do 4+ beds. As I'm coming down further, a field like living area. That's the square footage field. So if you want to include that, that's one of those fields that was probably renamed from your previous system. So I can come in and use that. That's just going to be the square footage field. And if there's anything that I want to search on, but it's not already included on my template, then I can click on Add a Field. And when you click Add a Field, I can add as many fields on the fly as I would like to make my search more usable for my current needs. And so you see this pop-up came up over the map. I can type in whatever it is I happen to be looking for. So maybe I'll put in central air. And I could select the item, or I could just select that whole cooling group and add that whole group here and select multiple items from that group if I would like. Now there are additional search options underneath here. So if at any point in time during the search process, I say, well, I want to make sure that I'm pulling listings that only have at least X number of photos because whoever I'm working with likes photos. You can go ahead and make those selections here as well. Now, I may just come in on this example and include some documents. We'll see if those have been brought over yet. Oftentimes, documents aren't completely loaded until closer to go live, but we do have some listings with documents on them right now. I'm going to include that because I'll just do a simple select listings and then email some listings, and I'll show you what it looks like to include documents, because that's a little bit different than what you're used to, I think, in Paragon. So let's take a look at these listings. Now, remember to review these listings, it's this row right above the map on the right. I'm on Edit Search. I can click View Results and it jumps directly to the list. But if I was on Edit Search and I wanted to start taking a look at the photos for these, I don't need to start with the list. I could just click on Photos, and then I'm going to have my list of all results along the left-hand side, and whatever one I click on, I'm going to see those photos. Now, this is really a media tab, so I'm going to see photos, videos, virtual tours, floor plans on this tab. So I see that film strip at the bottom. You'll always see the listing's primary photo first, followed by those videos and virtual tours and floor plans, and then the rest of the photos here. And if I want to keep track of one of these listings, I can always put a checkbox next to it. And now at the top it says 22 results, 1 currently selected. And if I jump to, let's go to detail, I am going to see, this is kind of a proofing report that's on right now. The actual reports will look a little differently. Let's just look and see they're not in quite yet for the system, but you will have an option for a lot of things here on the Detail tab. You'll have different versions of reports, and most of them haven't been built yet. They'll be built throughout this parallel period. I can see history for the listing, what was changed, who changed it, and when. And this is just a good note to remind you that all of the listings, all the historical listings that were available from Paragon have been brought over. So I can see when this listing was on the market previously, what was changed and when it was changed. All of that history, or all of that history that was available from Paragon, has been included. If there are documents on the listing, they'll be here on the Detail tab, and you'll notice that the documents are labeled floor plans downstairs, floor plans upstairs, and there's a privacy level. Now, I think most of the documents that were brought over, since they weren't specific from a list and our developers can't guess should this be public or private, they took the cautious route, and all of those documents that were brought over are currently set at the private level. You can go into your listing starting on May 19th and change the privacy level of those documents to make them publicly available if that would be appropriate, if they should be able to be shared with the public. But as I see this right here, I see those documents are all marked private. And I suspect that everything that was brought over, just for safety's sake, is currently private, but you can edit the privacy level on those to make them available to the public. So when we email or somebody else emails out a listing, any document that's marked as public is shareable. There's a mortgage calculator on the Detail tab. You can search for comparables, and that will just look for the same property type with the same number of bedrooms and bathrooms within a quarter mile. And you can change those defaults when searching for comparable listings, but I'm not going to go into do that today. One note that you'll also see here on the Detail tab is there is this little piece of guided help, this notice that lets you know that third-party apps like Showing Time, CRS, Transaction Desk, those will be available, and you'll see access to a lot of those on the Detail tab. So once that CRS integration, the courthouse retrieval system, once that's live on the 19th of May, you're going to see a link here for CRS. So if I wanted to go out to CRS and see the tax information that's available for that particular listing, I'll be able to do that from the Detail tab. Or request a showing with Showing Time. I'll be able to do that from the Detail tab. It's not there yet during Parallel, but it will be there after Go Live. When I'm looking at the List tab, I can come in and I can see Everything's got a sort of preview photo with it, some summary information, subtype, bedrooms, bathrooms. Those columns of information are called the view. And you can create your own custom views with the columns of information that you want to see. I won't go into that today. There is a tutorial for that right here on the list to the far right. I see this little informational bubble. How do I create my own views? And I can go through that guided tour if I would like. Now, again, I'm not going to go through that today, but just wanted to point that out. You'll also notice on the list tab all of these options at the top besides just the view, the columns of information. I can use pre-made sorts, so new or recently changed listings at the top, sort by price, city. You can create your own sorts, or you can sort on the fly. So for example, if I just wanted to sort all of these by living area, I click on the column header, and I can sort ascending or descending order. I can also change the font size. Now that's just how it appears on the list tab. It's not changing it everywhere in Flexmls, but it can make it easier for you to read things as you're looking at listing information. And if I move all the way to the left, I see right now this one is highlighted. It's the normal view, which has the preview photo, or I can change it to more of a one-line view. And if I'm looking at this and I want to fit more information on the page, you can just click on those column headers, those little dividing lines, and I can stretch those left or right to resize the columns. I can always reset the columns here as well. So that's looking at those on the list. And now you'll notice I still have the one selected from where we started this search. I'm going to select another one right now. And whenever I select a listing, you'll notice it keeps track of it right here. I'm going to go over to my map tab. And right now, whatever listing is highlighted, this one on 3972 Kettle Rock is currently highlighted, and it appears as a star on the map. So if I click on this one, star on the map. If I only want to see the listings that I have selected, not all the search results, I can always go down to select listings. So I just move to the right, click selected, and now just those two listings are going to display. And of course, I can toggle back and bring in all the search results as well. And I can do that not just on the map tab, but on the photo tab, the detail. Stats are going to give me a breakdown of what my current statuses are for the whole search result. So right now I just have 22 active listings. But I am going to see then average, median, low, and high statistics for those listings for bedrooms, square footage, original list price. If I had included sold listings, it would include the closed listings, the sold price in my search results here, sold price per square foot, and then days on market information for any sold listings that I have. How many went in 0 to 30 days, 31 to 60, etc. So I have those quick stats available here as well. Now, I'm just going to come back maybe to our Photos tab. And from here, let's go ahead and take an action with these listings. So up at the top of the screen, I see Share. That's going to give me the ability to text these listings to one of my contacts. So I would click, select this. Now, this is not using my mobile device to share, so it's not coming from my mobile device, so they can't reply when I share via text right here. But you can just text listings. A lot of people like to receive texts rather than emails, so you can text listings from the desktop site. When they receive that, it lets them know that they can't reply to that text. They could, of course, reply to your normal phone number to text you that they received it, but you can share those via text. If you have a contact and they've got a phone number on their record, you can text that to them. But instead of that, let's go ahead, let's email these two selected listings to somebody. Just manually email that. We'll go to my actions at the top of the screen. When I click on email, I'll see two options, the printer-friendly version and the interactive version. I always send the interactive version. The printer-friendly version is like one of those listing sheets where we see all the listing details, but it's optimized for a printed sheet. The interactive version is optimized for a screen. So if they're on a big screen, they see a wide display of it. If they're on a small screen, it optimizes for their mobile screen. It also includes always up-to-date information, so everything is always accurate. If there's been a price change, they would see the price change immediately on that interactive listing. If the listing member had added 20 more photos, then they are going to be able to see all of those 20 photos. So I'll click on Interactive Listing. And from here on the left-hand side, it asks me, are you sure you're emailing the listings you want? Current listing would be the highlighted. Since I have selected listings, it says it defaults at the selected listings, and there's 2 that are currently selected. It lets me know. Or if I wanted to share all 22 results, I could share all results. And if I want to include documents and open house information, I can. It's not attaching the documents as an attachment. It's going to have a link to the document, and that's why I pointed out that only documents that are publicly available, that have that privacy level set to public, when the recipient opens the listing up, it will only include those documents. So even though these listings have documents on them right now, all of the documents are currently private, so they won't actually appear in the email results right now, not until public documents have been added or the privacy level on those documents gets changed. And that you can do that for your listings for the document privacy on May 19th, remember. So we've got the 2 listings selected that we'll email. Over on the right, who are we emailing these to? I could add a brand new contact on the fly if I would like. And other than just a name, I would also need the email address. I'll save the contact. So now Crystal is in my contacts. I don't need to add a contact to email. I do have just an email line where I can type in an email address beneath that, so I don't need to add somebody as a contact. If I just want to email it to an email address without adding them, I use that line. And then I have a couple other options. Send a copy to me. Check that box if you want to receive a copy. Notify me when the recipient, Crystal, views the listing. So when she gets the email, opens it up, this will send me an email notification as well as a message in Flexmls that she looked at the listing. You can send it. I'm sending it by default using Flexmls, but if you just wanted a link to use in your own email program, you can check. Just give me the link or open my Outlook or whatever it is, but give me the link. Maybe I'm using Gmail and I just want to go ahead and grab the link. I can click Get Link at the bottom. Now I'll send this example from Flexmls. That way it stays in my sent messages. When Megan replies, it'll copy to my messages as well as my primary email address that's on my profile. And then I have my message. This will be blank for you. I've already created a couple of templates, email templates. You'll notice right at the top, if I type something in that I like to say every time I send emails, I can put in a subject, I can put in a body, and I can save that as an email template and just pull it down from my list. I can have a list of templates and just load those email templates to make things a little speedier when I come through here. And then by default, my signature card and or my signature block is attached. So you see my profile, my contact information. So that will be shared. That will have your default should have your, I believe license number is required to have that. So that will be here and available for that. Oh, there it is right at the bottom for mine right here. So following all of those guidelines for the MLS, that should be in for you already. I can preview what I want to send before I send by clicking View Listings, or if I'm ready, I can just click on Email. And once that's done, you'll notice on the screen, I get prompts to go back to my search results. So this is just going to be a reminder. When you are working with search results, especially in Flexmls, and you want to go back to those results, look for these on-screen prompts. After you take an action, I can click right here. Same link is right in the upper left. The reason I point that out, I'm not that familiar with Paragon, but in Flexmls, you want to avoid using the backward button on your browser to try to go back because it's always framed in. So what I think is the previous page and what my browser thinks is the previous page, if I were to click the back button in my browser, those don't often match up. So I always like to remind people to go ahead and use these links. When I click return to search results, there's no load time or anything. It just takes us right back to the search that began this entire process for us. And at any point in time in that process, as I'm looking through listing results using that search, find, act workflow, I can always go backwards into edit search and change my search criteria or add to my search criteria. And remember, we had 2 selected listings, but even here, if I go in and change my search criteria and start drawing on the map, my map tools are over on the right-hand side of the screen. I won't go into too much detail with the map today, other than you can draw shapes on the map with the rectangle, circle, freeform, polygon. You can locate addresses on the map with the pushpin tool. When you use that pushpin tool, you could also draw a radius out from the address you locate as well. I'll just take my freeform polygon. If I want to draw on the map, it's just a game of connect the dots. Every time I click, it sets a brand new dot on the map, and it just draws a line between that dot and the next dot. When you want to stop drawing on the map, you're going to just double click, and it sets that shape. So if you would like to include shapes on the map, you can always include them on any search. I can draw as many shapes as I would like. However, it's not required. I don't need to use the map. The map is available on any search, but it's not required for any search. So from here, before we go in and look at where we've set this up in contact management with my new contact that we just added, I'll do one more example and look at contact management. Then we'll get into some homework tasks that you can do during this parallel period. So right now, I've created this search. We just added Crystal as a contact. If I want this search to send Crystal updates automatically, I can save the search and turn on the subscription. So right now, we've still got our initial search plus the shape we just drew. And if I start looking at these search results, it still has those selected listings that we had previously. If I want to unselect them, I can just uncheck them and go back to these new 12 results right here. But now I want to turn on the updates. So Crystal gets the auto email for this search. And I'm going to show you, you can actually do this for your top prospects in parallel, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So you can do that now. You can get things set up for your contacts. But I'm going to show you right now just the basic workflow of how do I save the search and turn on the subscription so that search is what triggers new listing updates to be sent to Crystal. So I'll go to my actions at the top of the screen. I'll click on Save and then click Save Search. And what that will do is take me to the Save Search page. I can name the search whatever I'd like. Crystal, single family. I can type in my description if I would like. This is optional, so I'll just skip it for right now. And then if I was just saving the search for my own needs, I would just click on Save, and I would find it under Menu in my saved searches. And I want to save it for a contact. So under the contact portion, I'll say, is Crystal a new contact or is she existing? We just added her a moment ago, so I'll say existing. But I can always add contacts on the fly at any point in the process. So we'll save this search for Crystal. And I've got her selected. I can click Save and add the subscription. This will help me turn on the subscription so the search sends updates. So I click on Save. The search is available on Crystal's record right now if we were to look in contact management. But the subscription now is available. So the subscription, it's named after the search. You can change it if you'd like. It's not hard-coded. And then who gets the subscription? If I want a copy, check that box. Selected contacts, there's Crystal down here. If I add additional contacts, it's a blind carbon copy. They don't see the additional recipients. I'm going to just send that to Crystal. If I want to know when Crystal gets the update and she opens it to look at the listings, I check that box to send me an email. By default, the next one is off. That's preview mode. That's kind of a concierge mode. So when I turn that on, the updates don't actually go to Crystal right away. Instead, they only come to me. So I get an email that says Crystal's search turned up new listings. I open it up. It will show me the listings. I can review them. And each one has an approve or reject button next to it. So if I approve it, it goes on to Crystal. If I reject it, Crystal never sees it. So this is a really nice thing to turn on if I need that extra level of control. It is a lot of extra work though, so I'll keep that off, and that's why it's off by default, so you don't have to do that. But it just allows me to preview the listings and approve or reject them before Crystal can see them. The schedule, how frequently does it go out? So by default, that's just going out every day of the week. If there are no updates that day, no listings would be sent. Again, I have my email template, so if I've created templates, they would be here for me. I do have one template that we created, but otherwise, when you come here, this is just going to be entirely blank when you come here the first time. So when I turn the subscription on, I can always say listing updates for you. Here are some listings I think you might be interested in, whatever it is you want to say. This email on the subscription page goes out every time there is a new listing update. So keep it short, to the point. I don't have to mention time or date here because I don't know how long I'm going to be working with Crystal. It could be months. So I just keep it short, to the point. When Crystal receives this, it'll have my message. It will have a preview of the listing itself, or listings if I'm just sending it daily and there were multiple listings. And it will also contain my business card information, so I don't need to include that here. It will automatically be included. So from here, I've selected the recipients. I've set my schedule. Maybe we'll change this to ASAP so it goes out immediately when there's a change. And then my email. And remember, this is the email that goes out with every listing update going forward. And I'll click on Save. Now, I do get a reminder right now that lets me know that this subscription only goes from the point of saving forward. So Crystal didn't receive all 12 search results right now. If I want her to get these 12 listings, that's what this reminder pop-up is for. Do you want to email those listings to Crystal or choose some of those listings to email? If I click email, it'll take me to that email page so I could email those listings to Crystal. We've already looked at doing that, but that's why it pops up. So you can actually do this right now, and I'll go through this with how you can set this up for your current contacts that have been brought over. But I can get this set up now. The listing updates, if we set this up for Crystal now, they won't start sending out from Flexmls until the system is live on May 19th. So I can get everything set up now. Crystal doesn't actually get any listings. She did just receive, however, an email that says, please confirm you want to receive updates from Josh Hernandez. And that is just because when you turn on that subscription, she has to confirm she's a real person, so the system will send her updates. She'll get that now, but it won't actually start sending until May 19th. In the future, when the system is live, she would click that, and if there were any new listings, they'll start sending as soon as there are new listings. But right now, during parallel, I can get that set up. She just gets one email that says, confirm you want to receive updates. And I'll also point out, we can see everything we did in contact management. I've already got it here on my favorites, but if not, you can go to your menu, go to contact management, and I can see my contacts that are here. When I click on Crystal, we just added her. I'm going to see her contact details. Those are pretty slim. We added her kind of on the fly, so she just has a name and an email address. Now, the email address has a status of pending. All that means is we turned on a subscription to send her automatic updates. She received an email that said, confirm that you're a real person and wants to receive updates from Josh Hernandez. But until she clicks yes, send me listings, that status will show as pending. we can take a look at what that looks like for Crystal. This is her inbox. You can't see your client's inbox, but just for training purposes, this is Crystal's inbox. These are the listings I manually emailed to her, and this would say Josh would like to email listings. This is that notification where she opts in to get the listing updates. So this goes out by default. It's coded into the system. You can't really customize this one, but your name would like to email listings to you. This is what Crystal receives. We're excited to help you with your real estate needs. To get started, confirm you're a real person. So it's got my contact information. When Crystal says, yes, please email me listings, then back inside Flexmls, that status next to her email address is going to flip from pending to confirmed. So if I just reload contact management, click on this, I'll see the searches right here, or excuse me, on contact details. Her email address now, status is confirmed. That means on the 19th, she's going to start getting those email updates. Now, there is a client portal that's possible here where I could click to invite Crystal to use my client portal, and that's similar to the Client Collaboration Center in Paragon. I'm not going to go into great detail on that today other than to show where that invite is. I can invite Crystal to my portal. But now we are going to move on to looking at some things you can do to get your contacts ready for go live on May 19th. Up on my screen, you can see some of the homework tasks that we can do to get ready. Number one is review your listings for accuracy, or any listings that you're currently working with. Go to Flexmls, pull those listings up in the quick search, or you could just search for them in that quick launch bar, but review the listing data. Make sure everything looks correct from what you would expect it to be. Other than new labels for the data on the listings, everything should be included. So if you see something that's not included, you can always reach out to Northern Nevada Regional MLS and let them know, because it may be something that affects only that specific listing, but more likely it's something that affects multiple listings. So in that case, our developers would go in behind the scenes, make those corrections, and get all of those listings updated. So make sure you get in and review the listings for accuracy. One other thing you can do, once you've logged into the full website once, you've set your password, download the app for iOS and Android, or Android. So you can download it for your Android-based phone or your iPhone, and you'll log in with the same username, nv. and your member number, the same password that you set for the full website, and you can start using those apps now. Now, we do have separate training coming up specifically just for the apps, but just to point out that you can get familiar with those now, because it's a great app that is available for Flexmls across all platforms. And finally, you can get your contacts ready. And I've got a few extra screens, and we've talked about subscriptions. I've mentioned the portal, but what that means as far as getting your contacts ready is, number one, many of you probably have a lot of contacts that have been exported from Paragon and imported behind the scenes into Flexmls. That transfer, I believe, started on April 28th, so you may see those being populated the first day of the week or the first couple of days of the week. And searches, they're working behind the scenes to bring those searches over as well, if there was a search for that contact. Now, as I'm recording this early in the week, I don't know exactly what that will look like. It always looks a little bit different in each conversion that goes on, but I'm going to show you what you can do. Number one, let your contacts know that the MLS system that you use and send them listings with, that's going to change for them starting on May 19th. So those listings that they get from you, they're going to look a little bit different. Now, the nice thing from Flexmls, when you send a listing manually, when you send a listing with a subscription, the auto update, or the contact is looking at listings in the portal, it's the same layout, the same interactions. The whole UI is the exact same across all those different ways to share listings with your contact. So they don't have to learn a lot of different ways, just one new way of interacting with the listings that you send them. Number two, if they get automatic listing updates, those auto emails from you now, remember in Flexmls, that's called the subscription, but you can get that set up for them now in Flexmls. And the only thing that they'll receive right now is an email asking them to confirm that they want to receive listing updates, just like we did in our example with Crystal. So let them know that they're likely to receive something like that, and that's just for the new system. They can click on it now, but they won't get those new listings until May 19th. And then also let them know that their current client collaboration center that they may be using with you, that's going to go away. And it's not recreated on a one-for-one scale in Flexmls. I'll show you how to invite them to the contact or the client portal, but they won't have their saved listings and things like that were in the collaboration center. Now, any searches you save for them will be available in their client portal. They'll be able to see that search. If they have a subscription, it actually opens up in the collaboration center, or as it's called in Flexmls, the portal. So just let them know that that will go away and be replaced by something else starting on May 19th. Now, let's just look at subscriptions themselves, because subscriptions are based on a search and the subscription just sends them the updates. And this can be turned on during parallel, and no listing updates are sent until May 19th. So you can get this ready for your contacts now so they don't miss any listing updates from you. Also, they will receive, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, that opt-in email. So let them know that's coming. You can reach out to them now just to let them know, a good point of contact with them, but also let them know, hey, in the next few weeks, you're going to get that opt-in email. So then you've got time to go in, review their records, and when you turn on the subscription, that's when they get the opt-in email. And there are three things that you need to do to turn on and get the subscription set up. Number one, we'll verify that the contact search is transferred over. If it didn't, we can always recreate it from scratch. That's easy. But if it did come over, we'll attach the search to the contact if it's not there already. I'll show you what that looks like. We'll check the search, make sure it's accurate. Even if the search gets brought over, there's no guarantee that it's 100% accurate. So verify and make updates as necessary, and then we'll turn on the subscription. So what that would look like, we'll say I have a prospect that I'm currently working with in Paragon named Mark Stone. So inside Flexmls, once my contacts have been loaded, and you should see them in this week, when I go to contact management, I'm going to see my contacts. And here's Mark Stone. This is somebody I'm currently working with. So I'll go to Mark's record. I'll just click to open that up. I can verify that his contact information is correct. So if he had a phone number, I'll see that in. Mobile number, I'll see that in. If anything's incorrect, you can always click on Edit Contact, and you can put in the information or update the information if it didn't get brought over accurately. But most of the times, I'll click Save Changes. Most of the time, all of the contact details get brought over pretty accurately. Now, I'm going to go to Searches and Subscriptions on Mark's record. And you may be able to skip this first step. The search, you may already see it here in this box. So if Mark had a search that was sending him updates in Paragon, you may see the search here already. If it's not there, just click on Add. And your searches were being transferred before the parallel date. I think they are set to hopefully be all finished transferring this April 28th and forward, so they should be in here. But I would see, for example, Mark's home search. So it's taking the search that I had in Paragon. Paragon may have this like identification number. I'm not sure if that's something you see in Paragon, but it's something the developers received from Paragon, so they include that. But here's Mark's home search. So I just attach it to his record, and now I'll see that there. It may be that when you come here, you automatically see Mark's search already on his record. And if that's the case, perfect. But if not, just click Add and bring in Mark's search. Or if he had multiple searches, you could attach multiple. Now, the next step was make sure the search is accurate. So I would open up Paragon, take a look at what I'm currently looking at with Mark's searches there, and then I'll click on this search in Flexmls, and I'll click Edit. And then just click Edit the search. And this shows me how the search was brought over. So again, it's not a one-for-one search translation from Paragon into Flexmls because it's a new database field setup. So I want to make sure. Is it looking at the proper property types? In this case, residential. Maybe it didn't bring in the subtype. Maybe Mark's search was just single family. And I see current price up to $500,000. If there were other search criteria that I had that I don't see here, I can always add them. So I could say minimum of 4 bedrooms or whatever it was. Oftentimes, I'll also point out, sometimes if you had a map shape drawn in Paragon, sometimes those map shapes are unable to be transferred. I'm not sure on the success rate for those for this particular conversion for you in Northern Nevada Regional MLS. But if there was a map shape, maybe it didn't get brought over, I would have to redraw that map shape. And so from here, I can take a look at the results, make sure I'm getting the results that I expect from this search. And when I'm satisfied with it, I'm like, okay, I fixed the search. We're ready to save it. Just click on save. The search already exists, so you'll see it marked as an existing search. I'm just rewriting this. You could change the name of the search if you would like. You don't need that number on. And then we started this from Mark's record, so Mark is already in as the contact. You have to turn on the subscription. Even though I'm fixing the search, I have to turn on the subscription if I want it to send him updates going forward from May 19th. So save and add subscription. Just like we did in the previous section, we can come here, we can change the name of the subscription if we would like. Selected recipients. Maybe Mark wants this to go ASAP, not once per day. And then I have my email that I want to send in or send. And remember, this goes with every listing update, and the listing updates don't start sending until May 19th. Here are some new listings, whatever I'm going to say in that short update, and then I'll click on save. Now, I don't need to send him any listings from here. I'm just getting him ready. Right now, Mark just received the email saying, confirm you want to receive updates. I had warned him that that was going to happen. So hopefully when I come back here later today into contact management and I see Mark's contact details, he just received that opt-in email and I see his status right now is pending. But as soon as he says, oh, Josh, let me know this was coming. It's for the new system that'll be available in a few weeks. And then as soon as he clicks on that and says it's okay, it will say confirmed. Now, remember, the updates don't actually start sending, even though it's confirmed. No updates are going to be sent. So I've got Mark all set up, and I do that with all of my top prospects. You've got a lot of prospects that were brought over or contacts that were brought over. Just identify the ones that you're actively working with. Do those first during the parallel period, and then you can start whittling down to those you haven't had contact with in a while. Lastly, we'll talk about the portal. Now, we didn't go into that a lot today. You can go into the Flexmls help and watch a lot of videos on setting up the portal, what it does, but it's similar to your client collaboration center in Paragon. So it's a website that they would log into and they can view and track listings. And they can even run their own searches, save their favorites from those searches. And of course, I can see exactly what they're doing when I view their record in Flexmls. But the portal has a news feed. So if they've got automatic updates from a subscription, the news feed just has all of those updates in one place. So they don't have to dig through email to find the news feed and see those previously sent listings. They can see any search that you save for them. That's saved in the contacts portal. So any search that I save on their record, they can see real-time search results with that search in the portal. They can also run their own searches. So create searches that are outside of my agent saved parameters, and they can save the listings into their favorites folder. And of course, they mark listings as favorites, or they can remove them from search results. And the note I have here highlighted is do not send the portal invitation until May 19th or after if you're not ready. But I wouldn't invite somebody to use the portal during the parallel period. And the reason is because for business as usual during parallel, use Paragon because that has all of the updated listing data. When there's a price change, then they would see it in the client collaboration center. The portal may have outdated listing data in it because it's not the live system. On the 19th, it'll have live data, so it will always be up to date. But also, sometimes you're going to see mistakes on listings. Like I mentioned, we want to check our own listings or listings we're working with for accuracy. Those listings may get updated during the parallel period. We don't want to be sending any inaccurate listing information, which may be available during the parallel period. You don't want to share that with your contacts. So since the portal does let them see searches and listings, I would not actually send the invitation to the portal until May 19th or after. And what it looks like to send an invitation to the portal, we just go to the contacts record. So if it was May 19th, I could come here, go to Mark's portal tab, and then I would just click. Right now I've already sent an invitation to him, so it says reset account, but I would make sure the portal is on at the top, and here it would say send the invitation, and I would send that invitation. And that's all I need to do. Mark will get that. He'll be able to create his own password and log into the portal, and everything Mark does in that portal, I will be able to see here what he's marking as saved. If I recommend listings to him, if he removes listings, I can see the search criteria that he's using when he's running his own searches as well. And everything Mark does, whether I email him listings manually, or he has the automatic listing updates from the subscription, or he's looking at listings in the portal, all of that gets aggregated into the contact activity. So I'll be able to see what days they were clicking on listings, which listings they've clicked on, and the number next to any given listing. That's just how many times they've clicked to view the details on that listing. So 10, 4, and everything else once or twice right here. And you can kind of get a summary of emails sent and opened here on this activity screen as well. And the last thing to note, on my contact management screen itself, when I come here, it sorts every morning, Pacific time, I think it's about midnight, this activity bar gets updated. So when I log in the morning or whenever I log in next, I'm going to see the most active contacts. Doesn't matter how they got the listing, this just shows me in the past 7 days, Megan has clicked on a lot of listings. Next highest is Justin. He's clicked on 1 or 2 right here. And so I know who's clicking on listings. And of course, I can drill down and see exactly which listings they're coming in and looking at. Or if they're using the portal, I can see which listings they've saved, which listings they've hidden or I've hidden, or what they're searching for. And with that, that concludes our introduction to Flexmls. This was recorded. We'll send you that recording so you can review it at any time. Thank you for attending. I hope to see you at some of the live training sessions in a few weeks, and welcome to using Flexmls.